Hi there, welcome to the archives. I'm only doing this video because I said I would yesterday and I'm trying to keep my word to myself. But otherwise, I'm really not in the mood. Okay, so this one's called How Shame Moved Jada, Will, and Chris Away Against and Toward One Another Relationally. So disclaimer, I didn't watch the Oscars a couple weeks ago. Not live, not replays, not at all. I did, however, catch some clips online. So I'm basing this off sound bites, admittedly. I know what it's like to have people make grandstanding statements, assumptions, and decisions off of like 20, 30 seconds sound bites. So I just want to put that out there. I don't know the whole context. I don't. As with most things, I have mixed reviews about this topic. I really try not to say much about it and just to keep it to myself, just because it is, most people have said what I need to say already. There's not much I can really add to it. I did, however, so this is why I'm not trying to say anything. Unlike you, most of you, I'm trying to actually mind my own business. I don't know all the information. I don't have the contacts. I don't know the backgrounds. I don't know what the relationships were like before. Some people say he knew. Others said he didn't. I don't know any of that. It's all hearsay to me. And anything I have to say is really based on my own lived experience and just projections. So I've avoided saying much about it. But I do study shame for a living and as a student. So I did want to share some of my thoughts, more so for educational purposes, to show us how shame obstructs our interpersonal relationships. So that's what my research looks like. That's what I'm really interested in, is how do emotions keep us from being united, from staying together, whether that's a good thing, a bad thing. So this blog is using Dr. Brené Brown's work on shame to highlight the 3 ways that she's found that shame gets in our way. And so I found it really useful in my own research as well as my personal and professional life. And what Dr. Brené Brown identifies is A, shame that moves us away from others by withdrawing, hiding, silencing ourselves, keeping secrets. And 2, shame that moves us against others by trying to gain power over them, by being aggressive, by using shame to fight shame. And then the 3rd one is shame that moves us toward others, which is not always talked about. And that's where we're seeking to please and appease others. So the first example I have was shame moving Jada away. So we can all agree without that getting roasted is a form of public humiliation, even if it's lighthearted fun, right? There's a sense of shame might be like a strong word to use here, but there's definitely a sense of embarrassment that comes along with it. In any case, in this scenario, I'm interested in how shame moved Jada away. So you could see it on her face. She was really uncomfortable. Obviously, she adjusts in her seat. She rolls her eyes. She physically, kind of moves back. So you could see the physicality of it. I'm obviously reaching, right? I'm making an example. She couldn't hide or cover because she's front seat at the Oscars, right? She's on national television, so she's not going to actually hide. But you can kind of see where she withdraws, so to speak, and just kind of and kept silent. This type of shame is more passive aggressive. This is a more passive aggressive of the 3 types of shame. Her not laughing was her own silent protest. Having to navigate shame on live television is really difficult. Shame is difficult for any of us. It's a hard emotion to process. It's physically painful. It's not a good time. So I'm sending love to Jada because she was literally just sitting there minding her own business and got thrown into chaos. That's all I'll say about that. The second one was shame moving Will against. So this next one is the more aggressive of the 3. So here, again, I'm not sure if any of them felt shame per se. I'm obviously making generalizations, but I'm assuming that Will felt some type of way after he briefly laughed, right? So we saw that there, whether he was laughing at the joke that was made before, whether he was laughing at the joke about Jada, I can't say for sure. But he didn't do something after. If he didn't do something after that laugh, that would have made it for a very uncomfortable car ride home. As a Black woman who, when folks are dogging you and those you love join in that public humiliation, that's grounds for a fight, personally. Like when we get back home, if not divorce. That's also why I'm single and I stay single, because that would not have been okay. And I think he knew that in that moment he had to do something because, like, what are you laughing about? In any case, Will did what he did. We all know this could be seen as an example of shame that moves us against others, right? And so here he tried to gain power again over Chris. He obviously was more aggressive. He fought shame with shame. Oh, you want to shame my wife? I'm going to shame you. That's what we do. This is the tit for tat power struggles that we engage in. It's when someone comes for us and we hit them back even harder. Here's where you'll find retaliation. You'll find violence. You'll find revenge. Sometimes even murder and death. Don't sleep on shame. It's not a benevolent emotion. People kill other people for how they shame them, especially if they shame them publicly. Think of women that are murdered for saying no, right? A guy hits on a girl, she says no, and all of a sudden she's a B word. Like, that's shame. That's ego, that's pride, that's fragility, it's unprocessed and unhealed wounds, all of it. So that slap had a lot to do with how we lash out when we are shamed. And again, this requires you to be able to really work on yourself. It requires a lot of emotional intelligence. Taking anger management saved my life because our anger and rage is not held in the same regards as other people's anger and rage, whether it's justified or not. Right? Violence is not the answer, is what we're being told from this. That's all I have to say. The third one is shame moving Chris toward. So this is the aspect of interpersonal shame that's more passive. It's rarely spoken about. It's when you're kind of like that deer caught in headlights. It's just like, what just happened here? When someone shames us, we kind of fawn. We're in that fawning state, maybe even freeze. We don't know what to do. We want to please them. We want to make things right. We want to move closer to them. We want to move towards them. Like, what can I do to help this? And that's equally as toxic as the other two. The slap was in many ways a public shaming for Chris as well. Like, we can't forget that. He was publicly humiliated as well, too, on national television. And he was shook. You can tell that he was shook. He was humiliated. He didn't escalate the situation. He didn't fight shame with shame. He didn't cover or hide. He was just simply stunned. And in a sense, this kind of touches on the first one a little bit, where he was, performing like he was okay. He stepped even more into his hosting role. But I want to focus on the third one. So here you see him kind of moving forward, trying to make things okay. Like, he was confused. He was just as confused as many of us were. He conducted himself professionally. The respectability politics police love it. They gave him a standing ovation, right? We commend him for that. He didn't escalate. He didn't cut up. He wasn't being too quote unquote ghetto. They love it. They love it. So yeah, that's all I'll say. Other than just stop clowning us in company. There's a whole room full of people that he could have gone at, and this is why are we always coming for Black women? But it's a side eye for me. That's it for me. That's all I have to say. No long thing. Pay attention to these 3 ways that shame moves us. Again, that's away, against, and toward others. Emotions are very powerful. Shame is expensive. It's also tied to anger. It's tied to rage. It's tied to fear, as Will demonstrated. It's a messy, messy emotion. It's also very productive. Check out Dr. Brené Brown's work if you haven't. Most of my research, I have so much to owe to Dr. Brené Brown. Visit my website for more. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, donate if you want to. Thank you for watching this if you are. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Until next time, in solidarity.